The OneAcademy is the heart of our company. Cryptocurrency is not an easy product. It's a very innovative product based on technology and based on very, very complex concepts. For us to be part of this financial revolution, to be part of cryptocurrency and of a community, we need to understand exactly what we do and what we talk about. And this is why we have the OneAcademy. The OneAcademy provides you with concepts, provides you with explanation on cryptocurrency and on the financial world. I would encourage everybody to join the courses, to do the certificates, and to understand thoroughly how to use cryptocurrency, what cryptocurrency is, and how we can change the world by using cryptocurrency. OneAcademy. Learn today, lead tomorrow.
That's our beautiful founder, Dr. Ruja Ignatova. Greetings and welcome to another Lunch and Learn OneAcademy Zoom call 2020, where we educate and discuss some key financial topics. As our brilliant founder always says, learn today so you can lead tomorrow. I welcome all of you around the world and from the Caribbean. My name is Sherry-Ann Charles Patterson, and I am your host today with a gentle reminder of what is OneAcademy. OneAcademy is an e-learning platform covering a broad range of topics, including financial areas such as financial analysis, asset management, forex, stock exchange, cryptocurrency, and more. OneAcademy's mission is to provide the students with a guidance in educational materials needed to achieve financial literacy. OneAcademy was developed by finance experts and academics. It is highly structured and easy for their readers to understand. Our intention is to give you a unique sense of understanding and facts which you can use to enhance your knowledge and daily lives as well. And as to promote our core product, OneAcademy, and also the benefits of our entire ecosystem. So I encourage you to take copious notes to assist you in your quest to become certified, knowledgeable, and wise business leaders. Today, our presenter is Mr. Kester Beal. He is a DC power engineer in the telecommunications sector with more than 30 years experience. He is also a tax consultant with more than 30 years experience. He has positioned himself in One Life since 2018. Mentally liberated by OneAcademy's financial education, Mr. Beal is now a OneAcademy lecturer and financial liberator. I now hand you over to Mr. Beal to continue our discussions on inflation and deflation. Mr. Beal, it's all over to you.
Thank you, Sherry. Video.
Okay, thank you so much, Kester Beals. Before you start your presentation, we had promised to run a video, and it's basically highlighting some of the major factors of the topic that we are discussing this morning, which is deflation, of course. And in many circumstances, many circles, economics facilitators always believe, and they try to stay away from deflation. But I'll have you know that deflation plays a very important role in these cycles that happens to our financial system. What I would like to do is just for you to have an idea, coming out from the discussions from last week, of what deflation really is and how devastating it is. I'm just going to play a short video with a discussion between Mike Maloney and one of the economists, Dent, Mr. Dent, Kevin, I believe is his name, who will highlight, and this video literally is from 2015, but everything that's said in the video actually happened over the next 5 years, and really and truly, I think these gentlemen really know what they're speaking about. So let me share my screen and start this video. Just about 10 minutes.
Everything I study, including climate back as far as mine, has seasons. So seasons were not created by accident. It's a fundamental part of life. The seasons help facilitate change, progress, and innovation. And our standard of living goes up because of it. So when governments come in, like the Fed did initially in the early 1900s, and now central banks are doing globally on a scale that the Fed couldn't even imagine in their land, they're killing the golden goose. That's what they're killing. Free market capitalism, which is how we got rich in the first place. So I am like not only warning people about this reset and saying, you can see this coming, it's inevitable, you can do something about it, you can prosper instead of get annihilated by it. But I'm like, I want this reset to happen. If we don't get this reset, we're going to be like Japan in a coma economy forever. We're going to die. As a country, the whole Western world's going to die. So this is, you don't mess with Mother Nature from my point of view. You facilitate it. And they're
But they have messed so much.
Oh, unbelievable.
And when the reset starts to happen, they will try to prevent it.
Absolutely.
And it looks like the leaders that we're going to have, through the next elections, will be even more socialist than we have right now, and potentially. And what really worries me isn't the reset; it's the reset trying to happen, government rushing in to save us,
them reacting,
and then deciding that because all of this stuff is imploding, that they have to share the wealth, that they've got, that we have to go down this road that has never worked. There isn't an example in history of, if socialism worked, the Soviet Union would have been the winner in the Cold War.
China is still a top-down driven economy, government planning, which is proved not to work. And I've been telling people, you talk about a bubble, we're nowhere compared to China.
Right.
China is the greatest bubble, the most government-pushed, manipulated, leveraged bubble in all of modern history. China is not going to see a soft landing. They're going to fall like an elephant. And I think we're going to have some civil unrest and a lot of problems here. But I tell you, you couldn't get me in China for $1 billion. They are really going to have problems. And this is what happens when governments mess with Mother Nature, mess with natural cycles. You can facilitate them, but you can't manipulate them and try to prevent them. And that's what they're doing. This is extremely dangerous stuff. And I'm hoping for two things. My cycle suggests, again, 2015 to early 2020 is all four of my long-term cycles, and they're very comprehensive. All point down for the same time like they did in the early 30s and the early mid 70s. So that says it's going to happen in the next 5 years. But the most dangerous time looks like 2015 to 16. I'm hoping, number one, that we start to have the next financial crisis before the 2016 election. So maybe we elect somebody that looks like they could be a turnaround manager instead of another, endless money printer.
Well, that's one of the problems, though, is we don't elect people that have any business experience. What we elect
Janet Yellen, Ben Bernanke,
right.
Have they ever run a business?
No. They've never hired anybody.
They studied the Great, Ben Bernanke studied the Great Depression.
Yes, I read his books, and I read all his white papers and stuff.
Yeah, now the other thing I'm hoping for is that when this next crisis comes, and I think it's sooner than later, that I'm hoping the people of most countries, or particularly the United States, I'm hoping people are smart enough to say, you already did this. You already tried to print your way out of the last deflation or depression or failure of our economy.
Yeah, but if they
and all you
that
did was
smart,
create a bigger bubble. All it did was burst bigger. We're not going to let you do it again. We're going to be against it. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But
it hasn't happened in Japan in 25 years.
So. But Japan is unique, though, in a way, because they went through their great reset, their bubble burst, their real estate and stocks and their endless reset. They went through it when the rest of the world was having the greatest boom in history. And my biggest
what
credit
scares me is they had us to sell to during that whole time.
That's what I'm saying. Their export machines were running at full tilt.
Right.
That made it a lot easier. They didn't have the spill off of a world crisis coming in their economy like everybody had in the Great Depression. So they were able to do this, and they had been on quantitative easing forever, and it hasn't worked, except it has kept the banking system from falling down. So my theory is I don't think it is possible that the whole Western world just goes into this coma economy and just keeps printing and keeps doing all this stuff. I think people will say something's wrong, because I think most people know that you don't get something for nothing, and that when governments just, whenever there's a problem, they just create money and throw it. I mean, people got to be sitting there saying on one side, yeah, something for nothing. There's something wrong about this. On the other hand, they're like, yeah, but we didn't have a great downturn. I still got my job, and and the economy turned around. I'm hoping that people say no, and the Germans say nine, and on and on. We'll see. I don't know if people.
I don't think they will, because that average person that could say no has a mortgage. They are the leveraged out people that are going to lose everything. Right. The Great Depression, it was anybody that had debt lost everything they had. They lost the family farm.
The farmers were the hardest hit. And you know what? I think this would be the opposite.
Well, the farmers were the ones that could borrow currency because they could
land and their equipment.
And their crop cycle. They would borrow every single year to replant and grow the crops, and then they'd pay it back once they harvested. And so they were carrying debt when the deflation hit. Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons that they were the hardest hit. Yeah.
Well, you know that a lot of people don't get it. I think it's going to be the opposite this time. Back then, it was the local, smaller banks that got hit from the farm loans and all this stuff, and those are the ones that went under. This time it's going to be the big banks, because the big banks that backed and done all these leverage and done all these mortgages and stuff, and all these financial securities and stuff. They're going to be the ones. It is going to be Citibank and Bank of America and J.P. Morgan and all these, and the government basically. They won't quite say this. Their major motive for this endless money printing has simply been to save the banks. And the Federal Reserve does not represent the people. It's not democratic-like. It basically represents the banks. And so they're saving the banks while killing anybody that saves money, and creating this coma economy that can never really grow and innovate and reset. And it's not just the financial asset bubble. It doesn't benefit everyday people who have very little stocks and financial assets. We have a healthcare bubble. We have an education bubble that's being fueled by this. Kids now have to get, with $150,000 student loan just to get a college degree. How are they ever going to make it on the top of the high cost of housing and older people healthcare and younger people education? How are they going to make it? So government's doing all these crazy things just to keep the banks from falling down. I'm saying let the banks fall down, restructure, and go forward. Did we lose banking after the Great Depression? Did everything came back
but
stronger
we lost
than
about
ever?
a third of the banks.
Yeah. We lost a lot of banks, but the ones left, we lost a lot of companies. The ones less, my motto from history and life, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. People don't want, the problem with people is we're a bunch of sissies. Nobody wants challenge. Everybody wants the good stuff, the easy life. Everybody wants booms. Nobody wants bust. Life has to have both. Life does not work without boom and bust, inflation and deflation, male and female, and every opposite you can think of. Life is a play of opposites. Light and dark, sleep and work. I mean, people want one side of it and not the other. And if you think that way, you are not going to be as successful as you could be, and you're not going to see.
All right. So that was an interesting video, interesting discussion on this thing called deflation, inflation. And as he says, is really the opposites playing, and the forces must be the yin and yang, must be basically existing and allowed to run its course in order for a new healthy system to emerge. What is happening is that at every angle, governments intervene and disrupt that from happening and create a whole different paradigm that is a lot worse than if that was supposed to happen. It's just like the flu. You could take antibiotics, you could do whatever. The thing about the flu is that it has to run its course. But once it does, you would develop antibodies to fight that particular strain of flu. So it's the same thing. And he mentioned some different things, and I want Alvin and also Kes, before you get into the presentation, some of the things that stuck out for you. I know some of the things that stuck for me is that cycle, which literally is existing and will continue to exist. It started when the world was created, and all things have cycles. They also said back in 2015, if a businessman is elected, it will help people, it will help the economy, because that person will know they are custom running businesses and they will know exactly what to do. yes, a businessman was elected, and instead they had the opposite effect. And it's because of this unique businessman, right? What he also said was the fact that people should resist the government intervention. But on the other hand, because people were highly leveraged up to their kilt, they basically wouldn't say anything because they want to keep their job, they want to keep their house, they want to maintain a certain lifestyle. And he said it at the end, people have become soft and spineless and literally only want the easy side of things. And, you know, and the big banks, of course, he said, will be the most affected right now. And we yet to wait and see. But once we entered our recession period, and what happened, just like back in the 1920s, when you had that recession, that depression happening, and the farmers were affected by the Dust Bowl situation where they had to pack up and leave their farms because of natural disaster. If the world is hit with a major natural disaster now, that is another issue. And usually when we are going through these things, a natural disaster always seems to interject itself and make it more difficult. So guys, what do you think about this situation as we get into this discussion and presentation?
Ivan, you had my pen going like a kiwi print tree. I took so many notes talking about the China manipulated economy, fighting Mother Nature. So basically, there are supposed to be cycles, and the Chinese circumvent those, or how should I say, launch preemptive strikes to make sure the cycles are to their making. So he's saying that when they do crash, they're going to come down real hard. But understanding that China supplies most of the world's products, that in itself will have, of course, a knock-on effect, provided that happens the way he said it would be. So that was generally my greatest takeaway, because anyone who is so important to the world economy, it was like Lehman Brothers, had their level of importance, and that knock-on effect was
devastating.
Yeah.
So take it away, Kes, and enter your presentation, and then we'll have Alvin Morton and Dwayne also. Dwayne joined us, so we'll have further discussion on this topic.
All right, I check screen share. It appears to be disabled. But basically what we discussed last week, we got into deflation. My opinion being that we are blindsided by inflation so much. We grew up in inflation. Remember that time is the equalizer. So if you grow up with inflation over a couple of generations, by the time the third generation comes on, it's going to be a little difficult to be able to, for that generation, to have any type of real relatability that the opposite is even possible. And generally that's what we into now.
Try a screen share again and see if it's okay.
It's still telling me host disabled attendee screen sharing.
All
So
right.
our takeaways.
Right.
It's back up, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, we need to seriously pay attention to both inflation and deflation. And is that deflation can become problematical because inside of the mix you're throwing deflation into, there's quantitative easing and there's fractional reserve banking. Those two in the mix Because as I said, left on its own without those two, an economy will naturally experience deflation. So that by itself shows that we are fighting modernity, just as was said by a scenario that is unnatural but benefits a select group. The value of currency tends to fall with printing, and this COVID stimulus package that has already gone into play by the US is at the range of $6 trillion. Any type of deflation occurring in that economy will of course be devastating. If we leave out those unnatural factors, because according to Mike Maloney, your real value is your time and your freedom. So if you work and you are productive over a period of time, just like investing, you will reach your break-even point where what you put out is equal to what returns, and then crossing that break-even point, you will have the ability to go into exponential power. And now think about it. Having an entire family being productive, having an entire town, having an entire nation be productive without QE and FRB, quantitative easing and fractional reserve banking. The potential for greatness being a too simple a word. The potential for continual productivity, generation of ideas. Because if you are getting resources at easily affordable prices, then you can experiment a little more. You can do a number of things that will increase your productivity and change the offering that people are accustomed to. So, key takeaways. We ended with a video last week. I hope you remember it. I don't want to go through it again because we had a video. But provided interest rates are fixed, inflation benefits borrowers to the point that the item can be sold by the borrower in our hypothesis at a profit, and a portion pays off the loan. So, you purchased an item at a particular price from a loan. And as inflation time goes on, the price of that item tends to go up because the value of the currency is falling. There will reach a time you can actually sell that item, pay back the loan, and have something for yourself because the cost would have escalated because the movement of the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. And this is a phenomenon that governments use. You do a contract and you then don't get paid for the next 10 years. The value of the currency you have has been inflated by 10 years. So your buying power has diminished and you have lost some of the cost of even the materials you provided to execute a contract. So if you recall in the video, it indicated that governments are heavily in debt, so inflation benefits them. Deflation benefits the lender to the point that the lender can acquire two or more of the items. Because with deflation, the price keeps falling. Think about the OneAcademy. We are in a deflative economy. Anything or everything, the quantity of coins required will become less and less over time. However, even though it becomes less, the buying power of those coins goes up. So the merchant still doesn't lose. So let's say the merchant intends to buy a vehicle with coins acquired from sales on the deal shaker, and started off requiring 2,000 coins. And let's say it takes 4 increases for coin value before the merchant acquires 2,000 coins. By the time those increases reach, the value of those coins have gone up. And hypothetically speaking, the merchant may need only 1,000 coins. That's the effect of deflation. And as I think it was Mr. Kojo typed into the comments last week, in most deflationary economies, and of course that's from his observation in the deal shaker, of course, you don't require a loan because the price is going to go down anyway. The objective is not simply waiting on the price to go down, but the objective really is you becoming a merchant yourself. Because as another video showed, you won't wait to buy a computer next year knowing the price will fall if you need a computer now. And like food, in a deflationary environment, you know food is going to be cheaper. And for obvious reasons, you wouldn't put off buying food. So we have to realize, in this deal shaker economy, this economy is loaded with merchants as well as shoppers who understand, have a good understanding of economics. Deflation with the rank and file in the present type of economic system could be chaotic, and of course it's a type of deflation. So let's jump forward a little bit. So let's go further, as I like to say, in all directions. How deep does the rabbit hole go? And I wouldn't play this video I played last week. Deflation is a hidden tax. It is taxation without legislation. So when monetary supply exceeds monetary demand, inflation exists. 6 trillion stimulus package. And this is inside of North America alone. When monetary supply exceeds monetary demand, inflation exists. And it's a hidden tax that diminishes value. Your true value is your time and your freedom. So this is what I dealt with just now. They use inflation over time to ease their debt burden. And deflation would be the norm if QE did not exist. Because you are playing with opposites. matter, antimatter. That is a potentially destructive combination. And remember that the first user of currency get to use it before the inflation causes takes effect. Put that in the scope of the stimulus package not going to the public, but going to banks, financial institutions, and big business. Because that is where the stimulus package always goes. So before the economy can react to this extra 6 trillion being printed, the big players get hold of it and throw it into the economy. And then prices start to move to absorb $6 trillion of newly printed currency. For a period of approximately, this is from, Wikipedia. I said Wikipedia, Investopedia. Prices of consumer goods went down in Switzerland without any widespread negative impact on the country's economy, leading some economists to revise their opinion about ill effects of deflation. After researching deflationary periods in the United States, Britain, and Germany during the late 19th century, a team of economists from the National Bureau of Economic Research made the claim that deflation can be more positive than negative in a paper issued in February 2004. Deflation is not always a sign of an aggregate demand shortfall and economic weaknesses. In some cases, deflation can be the result of increased supply from improvements in productivity, greater competition in the goods market, or cheaper and more abundant inputs, such as labor or goods like oil. Or it could be natural, like in the One Life ecosystem, automatically built in. The deflationary experience of Switzerland has caused some economists to revise their opinion. So, while my opinion is that we have been blindsided by inflation, so you will never really hear anyone properly discuss deflation, some economists, understanding that they exist in a world that is, for want of a better word, manipulated by usury, fractional reserve, and quantitative easing, they know that deflation can have serious problems. So only some of them have revised their opinion. How is deflation working for you in the deal shaker? That tale of two economies. That team of economists claim that deflation can be more positive than negative. In fact, they said deflation was given a bad rap. The deflationary economic trigger is just as important as deflation being experienced. Was it overproduction and supply? Or was it a tightening of the financial availability? What was the trigger for deflation? Now think of it with respect to the deal shaker. Do we have a trigger for deflation? Or is it naturally built in to protect and respect your time and freedom, your true value? Natural versus unnatural causes. So accepted economics says moderate inflation is good because it increases national output. So in other words, if things get more expensive every year, you're going to have to work a little harder to get them. So it will increase national output, employment and income. Whereas deflation reduces national income and brings the economy backward to a state of depression. Again, inflation is better than deflation because when it occurs, the economy is already in a situation of full employment. Full employment is also, in my knowledge and experience, a pipe dream. It does not occur. You may have high levels of employment, but full employment is a castle in the sky. So it is imperative that you understand the trigger for this inflation. And in practically all economies on this planet, it is manipulated. Deflation occurs when asset and consumer prices fall over time. Deflation expectations make consumers wait for future lower prices. That reduces demand and slows growth. Deflation is worse than inflation because interest rates can only be lowered to zero. Again, totally non-factual, because we have negative interest rates in many countries globally at this point in time. But this is the rhetoric of economics. At this point in time, I would like to open the floor for comments, calling first on Mr. Alvin Morton. Alvin, share with us your thoughts.
A pleasant good afternoon, pleasant morning, pleasant evening to one and all on the call today. And we thank you very much, Mr. Kester Beale, for providing us with a recap, as well as some very critical thoughts on inflation versus deflation. We thank our host Ivan Mark for the video that he shared. And just to, before I get to Kes, just to accede to Ivan's request in terms of my thoughts on the video. one of the things that stuck out for me is the notion of China's debt, which is also significant. But we must also remember that China has a gold offset, and they tend to show less than they actually know. So while from a purely analytical standpoint of the debt in and of itself, when they fall, they can fall hard, that's true. But that may be mitigated somewhat by the extent of the gold that they have been buying. We have to remember they have been on a gold buying spree for quite some years now. All right, and that has not abated as far as I know. Japan, on the other hand, previously they were like the #2 world economy. And of course, as Mike Maloney said, they had the US to sell to. That is the case for China now. The only thing that I think is different is that perhaps China's gold holdings are a lot better and a lot higher than maybe Japan's gold holdings are. I don't know that for a fact, but I suspect that may be the difference, or that may be the bet or the strategy that they are employing. In each case, we're still talking about, in my view, consumptive debt. And one of the things that the US continues to suffer from is this high level of consumptive debt, commensurate or alongside or conversely juxtaposed with very low savings rates. In a video that I think I shared some time back from Chris Martinson, the US savings rate was anywhere between 7 and 9%, 10% maybe for the most. China's savings rate is 30%. So although they're gonna have the challenge with the debt, sure, some of their fundamentals are vastly different from the US. The gentleman on the call on the video with Mike Maloney makes a very valid point in terms of the cycles that are being resisted. Many of us are familiar with the cycle of sowing and reaping. I can still remember in my social studies primary school class, we were taught and talked and told about crop rotation. Because after you've planted a certain type of crop in the soil, it depletes some of the nutrients, nitrates, nitrogen-based compounds, and the like. And what one crop takes out, another crop puts back in. Because, in analogous terms, because we have a system that requires exponential money growth, because all dollars are loaned into existence. We have to remember the system is based on the creation, literal creation of a currency that did not exist before and for which no real value was created. These pieces of paper were previously receipts against a valuable commodity that was fixed in supply. The notion, the tendency, the preference not to want to be limited in terms of the currency supply is at the root of the problem. And now, since 1971, for nearly 50 years next year, 5 decades, we have had a system that prefers propping up, bailing in, bailing out, whichever term meets your fancy, the purveyors, the money changers, the exchangers. They tend to get first preference. And at the heart of what the One Life ecosystem does is challenge the value creation capability that this middle person, previously known as the bank, is bringing to the table. Do they really provide value? And that's an open question, and I'm sure we're going to have a nice debate on either side of the spectrum. Do they provide value, or are they simply making their money, their profits, on the spread between what they get in versus what they loan out. There was a time when banks gave 5 and 6 and 7% on savings. That does not exist anymore. And that's simply because it's much easier to await or participate in the process of creating a currency that is backed by nothing. And because there's this whole private institution thing, they can, at their whim and fancy, decrease money supply, which has been attributed to the depression in the 1920s and 30s, or increase it, which is what is currently taking place now. So there'll be a lot more talk, and I agree with Kester Beale, about inflation versus deflation. And I suspect, in my humble view, because the deflation is more beneficial to the consumer than it is to the existing status quo. And therefore, it's not talked about, it's not discussed. And any system, such as the One Life ecosystem, in my view, that embodies the potential for such benefits to redound to the consumer is going to be fought with vitriolic violence. And that's just something that I have concluded after looking at all of the various pieces of discourse around this matter. Okay, so those are some of my thoughts. I want to yield the mic, the space, the floor for some other comments.
Yes, I agree with you, Alvin. It always looks like the whole system is rigged, in a sense, for the wealthy and for those who, of course, are in authority, because in any stimulus package, of course, the banks and the other institutions get the first pick, and then the masses gets whatever is left, which is a small portion of any stimulus package. Yet the stimulus package is touted as something that will save and assist people. And the opposite is true. It causes more damnation than anything else to the people, as discussed by Mike Maloney and Mr. Dent. And when we realized, some weeks ago, I played a video with Daniela Booth and her guest, the one with the Ouroboros, with the snake eating its own tail. And he said, every 30 years, the system goes totally broke. Guess what? He said he followed this for 90 years. Guess what? 1929 to 2019, you have what? You have 90 years. So it is just about that time when this third 30-year period, and really the system will go broke, will fail, will fall. The OneAcademy offers us a really, truly dynamic opportunity in that it guides us, it gives us the information to really set apart ourselves from the rest. Now, the thing about it is that it's only 4 years we had this information really. So between 2016 and now, we should have been preparing for this, right? Seeing that has gone, my whole impetus on this now is what, again, is really directing us to do something that will benefit us with the information that we have. And you highlighted some of the things, of course. You highlighted purchasing gold. You also spoke about the oil and the shale oil and all this that America has. And some of the things that we could do, there's the alternative energy that we could get involved in, because all of these things will take place. My suggestion is that we always look at the trend that will appear in the new, in this new environment, which of course is AI, robotics, the digital economy. All these things we should more or less be embracing, because we cannot get away from it. What is your take on this? Or anybody else? Muriel or anybody? Steve Wayne and Dwayne?
Well, Ivan, for me as a layperson, in the network and someone who is engaged in the education, I am appreciative of the interpretations of Alvin and Kester because it broadens my scope of knowledge and makes me understand the intricacies of economics. But essentially, if I were to break it down in layman's terms, is that these persons have been cheating us for centuries. The traps have been set, and we have been participating in a game unknowing to us where we continually give away our value to persons who are hell bent on defrauding the entire world. In times gone by, when I used to hear things like the world debt is X amount of trillions of dollars, I was wondering, well, who does the world really owe this money to? You understand? Is it an extraterrestrial, or is it extraterrestrials that the whole planet owes this finance to? But that is when I was in ignorance. So now I understand that through their debt creation system, the world bankers have basically enslaved the world, even unto the unborn generations with their plans. And now that we have an opportunity to educate ourselves, we can be able to take back our wealth. And through education in business, education in law, education in trading, we can be able to access now those main arteries of finance that flow so freely before our eyes. But the key again is education. And then again, Dr. Ruja says in her book that only 5% of the people are really going to take the education seriously. And so I know at times we clamor for the numbers of persons being on the call, but that in itself was already prophesied. That is only a microbe of the community is really going to actively engage the education and really take it to the next level. So I just count myself to be privileged to be in the company of some of you all esteemed gentlemen, and I say that I'm forever the student, always willing to learn. So that's
Yes.
my 2 coins. Thanks a lot.
And we have to take the information, KDs, and convert it into reality. And that's the key, because as Kes says, the economists are more or less hell bent on keeping inflation in front of us more than deflation. Yet research shows that deflation will benefit more than inflation. If you go back to the good book, the Lord God always tell his people not to charge any interest for your brother who asks you to help them out. The only time that one was really mandated to pay interest is if one did a devious act of stealing someone and has to replace it. It has to be replaced fourfold in some circumstances, right? Many circumstances, I should say, sometimes even more. So that is the only time. Other than that, the thing about usury, and that's why we say it's unnatural, and charging interest for something really shouldn't exist. And that is what is going on with inflation and deflation. Deflation is more or less the reality of how money should work. Inflation is really a derailment of that reality, in the sense that control and putting more money into the coffers of those who more or less want that sort of system. And we here really need to take the information and convert it into something that will make us better, because again, knowing and not doing is not knowing at all. So I don't know if anybody else, before I turn it back over to Sherry-Ann, any further comments? No? Well, Sherry-Ann, it's back to you to introduce the merchant of the day. Thank you so much for the discussion, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Beal. You were certainly in your comfort zone today. Thank you to all the panelists for giving us such a unique sense of understanding. Certainly our financial literacy has been enhanced, all thanks to our OneAcademy education. Now it's time for our merchant of the day. our wonderful ecosystem allows us the opportunity to use our cryptocurrency on DealShaker. And the merchant of the day is Brother Noel Emmanuel Jack. Brother Jack is a minister of religion. He's a naturopathic practitioner, wildlife master herbologist, and nutritional consultant, specialist in the field of natural medicine, holistic health and wellness. For the past 30 years, he is the founder and director of the Antediluvian Nature Center of Life Extension and Health Recovery. His clinic is devoted to breakthrough medicine and anti-aging technologies for all ailments and diseases in the body, mind, and spirit. He treats many diseases, including HIV and herpes. He has spent his years in research, experiments, and development of herbal products with the intention to help our nation and the world at large. He has been the host of the World of Cryptocurrency radio program. Brother Noel, I welcome you today.
Okay, thank you very much, Sherry-Ann, and a pleasant good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning to wherever you are in a wonderful world. It's a beautiful day, and I'm delighted to be on this program to share a few thoughts about the DealShaker and what the DealShaker experience has done for me. To begin, I just want to congratulate those of you who are on the Zoom call right now for being there, the panelists, for your wonderful contribution. You know, all the prognostication of these financial gurus, these financial prophets. I mean, we are actually experiencing the realities of what they said in just about 5 short years. But my little perspective on it is that, you know, while it is to some extent fatalistic, kind of doom and gloom, we have an opportunity here in the One Life network with our DealShaker, because we understand with the attainment, the acquisition of our one coins, we are positioned with an asset class that is truly appreciating in value. So we can always beat the inflationary program. The previous panelist said in the discussion, to enslave the world, literally to steal and to destroy. So we, in my opinion, we have a short window of opportunity to capitalize on a system called the DealShaker in our ecosystem of the network, so to position ourselves for creating wealth. So the Antediluvian Nature Center is a center that is dedicated to breakthrough medicines and anti-aging technologies for all ailments and diseases. We live in a very sick world, and people are brainwashed when it comes to information on health. You know, we are targeted by advertisers, we are targeted by the medical establishment, where we are, as it were, hoodwinked and deceived into accepting chemicals and drugs as a therapy for treating diseases, which in reality only treats the symptoms or the signs of the disease. So what we do at the Antediluvian Nature Center is we go way, way back to that period that existed virtually before Noah's flood, the biblical flood, which is called the antediluvian period. You had much, much more oxygen in the atmosphere because, you know, rain didn't fall at that time. So there was a double pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere. You also had more electromagnetism in the earth. You had more nutrients in the soil. Plants and trees and the herbs and so on all had more dense nutrients. So I am trying to carry people virtually back to that period of the antediluvians, just after, before Noah's flood and just after Noah's flood, where we consume more vegetables, more grains, more whole grains. We had a purer, more pristine environment. And to do that, we have to take into consideration certain factors. Spiritual factor number one, we have to take into consideration our genetic predisposition, inheritance, what we inherited from our foreparents, our parents, grandparents, and so forth. We also have to take into consideration our diet, our lifestyle, the environment, the weather, the climate. there are many, many factors we have to take into consideration. So when you are able to assess these factors carefully in your own personal life, you can get a hand of your health and therefore treat yourself with natural medicine, which we know is documented to be the most perfect solution for bringing about health and wellness. So the
So,
deals
Brother
that I
Joel,
sure, go ahead.
with that being said, we understand that you have products to help all of us with such an issue. So tell us, what deals do you have up to help us on the Deal Shaker? What deals are you promoting?
Okay, so if you can help me to show the deals on the deal shaker, I'll appreciate it. But basically, I have two deals that are active right now. Um, Actually, we reset these deals. They were there before. So by the 20th of this month, these deals will be activated. So persons can actually purchase through the QR code, or you go on the Deal Shaker platform, clicking on the link, and you purchase those coupons. We have two coupons right now. One is called Clean Out Waste and Bacteria, and these are products that are designed to thoroughly clean the body's organs of illumination. We're talking about the skin, which is the largest organ, your liver, the second largest, kidney, bladder, spleen, large and small intestines, and the blood. It gives you a lot of energy. It helps you to sleep well. It strengthens the nervous system. It gives you radiant sunshine, happy skin. Right? So those herbal products, natural products, organic of its kind, are designed for total cleansing. And this is a protocol that we need to adopt if we want to take care of our health. The other deal is a simple diagnostic procedure where we do what is considered an assessment of your health. We look at your little of your medical history. We also look at your symptoms or signs that you may be experiencing, discomfort, disease, ailment. We assess it well, we give you advice, and so on. If you come in location or I go to you, we do what is called a macro urine analysis, where we test analysis. We look at your ketone level, the bilirubin level, the specific gravity, the nitrate level, the leukocytes, the specific gravity, and so on. So we can assess exactly what is happening in your body, and we're able therefore to advise you. Now, for those of you who are international, we can do this on the phone via WhatsApp video call, where we ascertain exactly what are some of the symptoms and signs that you're going through in your disease state, right? The aim, albeit, is to help you to recover, help you to enjoy a better state of health, help you to experience longevity. My catchphrase is creating opportunities of health and celebrating longevity. God designed us. God intelligently created us to live our best life, to live a life full of passion and meaning and purpose. And as we always discuss on the Zoom calls here, even on our nightly calls, we need to strive. We need to have that optimum health and wellness. So you out there that are suffering from an ailment or diseases, can be from HIV, AIDS, right down to herpes zoster, cancer, diabetes, male problem, female problem, hormonal imbalance, whatever disease or ailment you're suffering from, I am telling you, we do a comprehensive diagnostic analysis. We have coming very soon what is called a quantum resonance magnetic analysis that does 31 tests on your body from your brain to your bones. Yes, it can tell the viscosity of the blood, the bone density, the menstrual cycle. It can tell also sperm semen analysis, the erection trigger, of the body, the male that is. If you're suffering from some type of hormonal imbalance, it can tell us your vitamin deficiencies, your mineral deficiencies, from your brain to your bones, and we treat from HIV, AIDS right down to herpes zoster, as I said before. So for now, you have these two deals with the cleansing, which is a prerequisite to getting on any program to help restore and heal the body. And of course, the consultation that gives us that ability to know exactly, in a personalized sense, what is going on in your body. So Go on the platform, click on the link, it's easy. Purchase the coupon, and you send that coupon to me. I'll redeem the coupon. It is a 100% OneCoin cryptocurrency, inflation proof, a coin that has appreciating value, as in contrast to the dying, depreciating, inflationary, and deflationary economic system that exists out there in the world that is enslaving the masses. We are offering you freedom here on the Deal Shaker, a very powerful ecosystem in the One Life network and the OneCoin cryptocurrency to serve the masses. This is a coin for the masses. This is the people's coin. This is the most revolutionary technology that exists on planet Earth, with a wonderful blockchain that will serve 120 billion coins to our planet of 7.5 approximately thereabouts. So I encourage all our merchants that exist in our network to get on the Deal Shaker, put your business on the Deal Shaker, offer your business, offer your products and services on the Deal Shaker, and everyone participate. Purchase something with your coins. If you don't have enough coins, put a business on the Deal Shaker. So I thank you very much for this opportunity to share. And tomorrow again I'll be on, but this time I'll be featuring Dr. Trevor Sears and a much more products that we have available to help save you from all your health concerns. So Sherry Ann, thank you very much, and to all the panelists, thanks for facilitating me and giving me that opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Noel. Thank you for sharing the value that Deal Shaker has provided for you as an entrepreneur. Thank you for sharing with us your medicines and your treatments. And as you all could see, we are able to get all of this for 100% cryptocurrency. And that currency is OneCoin, our ones. We accept 100%. So I know that you're here for the first time. You are much more interested to know about our cryptocurrency. So you can join us again tomorrow at 12 noon as we go deeper into the rabbit hole with Kester Beale and our panelists of inflation versus deflation. And you can also join us tonight at 8 p.m. Tell someone, a family, a loved one, and join us. See you again soon. Have a blessed day. Goodbye, everyone.